Have you ever felt untouchable? Immortal. We, the young, often feel this way, that nothing bad could ever happen to us. But the truth is, all it takes is one bad day, and
I was devastated. I was in shock. I was a little bit in denial. When I heard the news, my daughter had called me at work, and she was screaming and crying. She was about 11 years old at the time. I first saw my son at the hospital. He was being brought down the hallway on a stretcher on his way to get a CAT scan. And it was actually the best part of the day in some respects because I had no idea what his condition was. As he passed in the hallway, I couldn't get to him because security wouldn't allow me to, but I yelled out to my son, "Are you okay?" And my son actually made me laugh because he yells back, "I'm just chilling." That actually helped me because he had his sense of humor, which, you know, is a great thing to have in these situations, is to have a good sense of humor about it.
The first time I finally got to see Dietrich was I went into the room where they were keeping him, and he was on the gurney that they had taken him out of the ambulance in, and he was wrapped up in a lot of blankets. You know, seeing my husband and my daughter like kneeling down in front of him at his bedside, and just the look of anguish and pain and despair on their faces was so profound that I really have a hard time looking at that first photo that I took when I went in. I think it was just a very raw capture of the moment.
We all get caught up at work. We all get caught up in the grind every day, doing the same thing, fighting traffic, going to work, dealing with difficult employees or bosses or whatever. But when the accident happened, just the simple task of walking down to the corner and getting a cup of coffee seemed like, man, I could still taste that first coffee I had, because it's the first time I allowed myself to relax. Until then, I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking. I certainly appreciated that coffee like no other. And the reason is because it was finally, like I said, my moment where I could just exhale a little bit. But life in general after that incident, I appreciated more. Everything I looked around at, the stupid little things like walking to the park or something like that, I wholly submerged myself in and took full advantage of.
I remember seeing him in Helen Hayes, and it was the first time they were going to get him to walk. And I was really, really, really freaked out about that. And I remember they took him out of the wheelchair, and I was so nervous. And they had him stand on a walker, and he leaned on it, and he was shaking, and he shuffled forward a few steps as he slid his feet. And I watched him do this for about 15 feet. And immediately, it seemed like after he had started walking, he had to sit back down again. And they put the chair under him, and he sat down. And I was really upset seeing my kid, who used to climb trees and climb gazebos in a flash, you know, was struggling to walk 15 feet. And when he came into the room later, I was telling him, "I'm so sorry that all this happened to you, and that you can only walk a few feet, and it's not even walking, it's just dragging your feet, and I feel so bad for you." And I was just pitying him like crazy. And he just smiled at me, and he kind of like put his hand on me, and he was like, "Mom," he was like, "why are you upset?" He said, "Do you know how awesome it is that I walked 15 feet today?" He said, "where I didn't walk any feet yesterday." He said, "and tomorrow I hope I'm going to walk 25 feet. And after that, I'm going to walk all the way across the room. I'm more hopeful. I'm more positive. I have more faith that things are going to get better and this is just a temporary thing, and whatever the bad thing is. And I really look forward to my future with hope because of this experience, because my children really taught me how to weather a really, really bad storm and have faith that there is some light at the end of it.
My parents talked a lot about how this experience shaped them and affected them. It gave them greater motivation to do things, more of a resolve to get through stuff. It gave them an understanding and empathy for those who go through such harrowing experiences like this, But for me, what I take away from all of this is just appreciate those little moments. The first time I ever felt the sun on my skin, I'd seen the sun, been able to look at it, but because of how the building was angled, I could never actually get direct sunlight. It would just shine right outside the window, just out of reach. And then they let me roll down the hallway one day. Last day I was there in Mid-Hudson. And I felt the sunlight hit my skin, how warm it was. I cried. I cried for a while. And even after I was done crying, I just bathed in it. Bathed in the sun and just let it soak into me. I sat there the rest of the time I had to be there for that day. That was the day I was leaving. And it was just beautiful. It's wonderful that I'm here and able to do the things that I can. So whenever you hit a negative spot, you just think to yourself, not only is this temporary, no matter how long it lasts, it's temporary. When I get to that thing, I'm going to cherish it like never before.